Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Dustin Kreis and today I am doing a dual video response. This will be a video response to Ballin' Nick 1982 and also R.E. Lewis 2011. And I watched Ballin' Nick's video on how I got into RPGs and why it's my favorite genre. And he talked about it being a response to R.E. Lewis's original video. So I'm definitely going to go check that out. R.E. Lewis, I posted this as a response to your video. I'm definitely going to check your stuff out. And just from Ballin' Nick's glowing review of your channel, I will most definitely be a subscriber as soon as I find the time to do that. But anyway, the video is about how I got into RPGs and why it's my favorite genre. And the story of how I got into RPGs is a pretty fun story, and I think I've already told it once before on here, but I'll tell it again. But the reason why it's my favorite genre is because it just feels like there's no other game out there that puts such an emphasis on story and character development, and you really get invested in your party as you move through the game. And I've played all different kinds of games, and it's just, I never get the sense of fulfillment completing other games that I get from completing RPGs. And this goes way back into my childhood when I can't remember a time when I didn't think about video games. But really, the moment when video games really became important to me was when the NES came out. And we had these people that babysat myself and my brother, and they had an NES, and at that point in time I was crazy about Ninja Turtles, and I still am, and fuck you Michael Bay. But the Ninja Turtles game for the NES and Mario Brothers, 3, I think at the time, those were the two games that really just ate up all of my brain. That along with Mega Man games. Until one day I saw my friends playing this game right here. And this is the actual cartridge that they played. This is the actual cartridge that got me introduced to JRPGs. They sold it at their yard sale. You can't really see it. I've tried really hard to get it off there, but it says Whiteman. That was their last name in marker, because everyone wrote their last name on these cartridges back in the day. This is the actual cartridge that got me into JRPGs. And, Dragon Warrior cartridges, you can find them a dime a dozen, but this thing is almost priceless to me just because this is where it all started. I watched this game, them playing this game, and I was just like, I didn't know what it was. I couldn't understand it, I was just sitting there like, next game when you die, because that's, that's what you did. You called next game. And he's like, that's not how this works. And I was like, what? And the more I watched him play it, the more I had to have it, because when I would go outside and play outside, this is what I would play, without even knowing this game. This is what I would do. I'd go out and fight monsters as a knight because I was just crazy about medieval knights and, things like that. I was just wild for it as a kid. And to finally see a video game that had all of that in it, I was done. I was sold. And as soon as they put this, as soon as he finished it, he kept it for maybe another year, and then they sold it in a garage sale. And as soon as I saw it, snatched it right up, and have not really looked back since. Dragon Quest, which Dragon Warrior is the Americanized version of Dragon Quest, because Dragon Quest was trademarked by TSR for Dungeons and Dragons, I believe. So they had to name it something else. But this is my favorite series of all time. So, it really was an awesome game, and to this day the music and everything about it still sticks with me. I can go back and play it, and instead of it being an awful grind fest, archaic experience, it's just so nostalgic for me. So this is where it all started, guys. This is what got me into JRPGs. Let me just point out, really everything I have here is JRPG related. Western RPGs, that's a different thing, and that's sort of a different story. I think it was Knights of the Old Republic was the... there might have been one before that. But I think, I don't know, WRPGs is a completely different thing, and we'll get into that later, maybe. But this is where my JRPG love started right here. And then, it was really... This game goes back and forth with being one of my favorite games of all time. And what it did was it took the established formula and just took it to the nth degree. And that is Dragon Warrior 3. And, you know, Dragon Warrior 2 introduced the multiple people in the parties, the multiple monsters, and all that kind of stuff. But it was a very unbalanced game, very challenging. This was the first time that Dragon Quest really felt like a full-fledged game. You know, the first game, when you look at it nowadays, very archaic, very slow, very menu-driven. The same can be said for Dragon Warrior 2. And Dragon Warrior 2 is a lot more difficult than Dragon Warrior 1 in a lot of respects, because it just seems like your party is always at a disadvantage in Dragon Warrior 2. But this was the first time that the game was like completely and utterly balanced. And, you know, the world was huge. It tied back into the first game exquisitely well. And, this really is where I fell in love with the genre and knew I had to play a lot more of these types of games, which back in the day was really difficult because there wasn't a lot of these games out there. But, yeah, Dragon Warrior 3, it depends on, you know, kind of, I don't know, it just depends on the flavor of the week, if this is my favorite game of all time, or if it's a later game that is my favorite game of all time. But this is definitely one that is for the record books, guys. I love Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest. Another series I really got into with the Nintendo was, of course, the Final Fantasy series. And this one didn't capture me as much as Dragon Quest. I don't know why it didn't, but maybe because I'd found such a loyalty to Dragon Quest that, you know, it was just kind of hard to, you know, really have that love for another series. But this was another game that just I really enjoyed back in the day, and I was really looking forward to future Final Fantasy installments, which we'll get to in a minute. But again, this is one of my, you know, favorite games looking back, and it really kind of, it doesn't stand up nowadays, but when you put it in and for a classic experience, you can't go wrong with this one. A lot more story-driven than games were at the time. You know, Dragon Quest was really, hey, dude, the princess has been kidnapped. You need to go save her. Oh, okay, you did that? Okay, well, there's this guy that lives down in this castle named the Dragon Lord. Yeah, go kick his ass. Okay, you did that, great, game over. So this actually had much more of a story in it, even though it was still kind of bare bones. But it definitely laid the groundwork for a fantastic series that unfortunately has, you know, not really lived up to its namesake in the last, I don't know, 5 installments or so. But it's still a good series, but it's just kind of a shell of what it once was. But Final Fantasy for the NES, definitely check it out. So then we move into the Super Nintendo, which the Super Nintendo is, of course, my favorite system of all time. It's just, it took everything that the Nintendo was, the NES was. Do I want to jump this far yet? Yeah, let's go ahead. It took everything that the NES was and just souped it up. Souped it up. No pun intended, but there it is. But anyway, it introduced me to the game that quite literally changed my... I don't want to say changed my life, because that seems melodramatic and stupid. But at the same time, you know, if I really think about it, it kind of did, because it really solidified in me that this is the hobby that I want to have, and these are the type of games that I want to play. And that game was Final Fantasy III, or Final Fantasy VI, as it's now known. It was originally Final Fantasy VI in Japan, but when they brought it over here, of course, you know, there was only a few Final Fantasies out, so... But this game, guys, you know, back in the early days of my channel, I did a Final Fantasy series overview, and I spent... it was a 3-part series, and part 2 was just this game alone, because this is my favorite game of, it battles with Dragon Warrior 3 is my favorite game of all time, but it's definitely my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. And, the formula, it just hit on all levels. I mean, the characters were fantastic. Yes, some of them were a little bit underdeveloped, but, when you have 16 playable characters, it's going to happen. But the core characters that are in the game, like Locke and Terra and Edgar and Sabin, just so fleshed out, and it's such a lovely story. Like Locke and Celis, and his sort of love triangle with his past with Rachel. It's so good. And the gameplay is just top-notch. This is Final Fantasy at its finest. The PlayStation games were great, but for me, in that classic Final Fantasy sense, nothing, ever topped this. Final Fantasy IX came close, but wow, this is just an experience to be had. And back in the day, watching the opening cinematic and playing through the game and getting to that halfway point, and everyone who's played this knows what happens at that halfway point. The game is very traditional JRPG to the halfway point, and then when certain something happens, the rest of the game from then on becomes kind of an open world RPG, and it's just phenomenal. Definitely one of the most evil villains in RPG history. I mean, he's just evil to the core. I mean, like Joker evil. I mean, Kefka, he even has the Joker makeup, because he's the court jester. But just so evil, and one of the few villains that actually succeeds in what he's setting out to do. So definitely check out Final Fantasy III, guys. It's definitely one of the best JRPGs out there. I don't care what anyone says. It's that phenomenal. And then, like Bull and Nick said, a game that I think everyone should play, and I really want to go and just punch everyone in the face at Nintendo because they've just completely abandoned this series, and it was one of their best series. That is Earthbound. And this is my original copy that I bought back in the day. I still have the strategy guide over there on the shelf. It's not in the best condition because when you're a kid you don't think about these things. But I had the box for a long time, and then we were moving, and I was like, what do I need all these video game boxes for? And I threw it out, and that's probably my biggest video game regret of all time. But I definitely think that this is one of the most quirky RPGs out there, and definitely get it any way you can. I don't think Nintendo's ever going to release it on the Virtual Console. I don't think they're ever going to re-release it on like a 3DS cart or anything like that. Maybe on, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's up with them. But if you have to download the ROM and emulate this to play it, then do it. Because you owe it to yourself to play this game. And, this game goes for about $200 for just this. So, I can't really tell you to go out and buy it because it's a huge purchase, and luckily I bought it back in the day when it was just $80 brand new. But if you have to emulate it, do it, guys, because you really need to play Earthbound. That's one of the few times I'll tell you to do emulation, but that's okay. More into the action RPG games. This is a game that I think here recently, in a lot of respects, has kind of been getting maybe a little bit of a bum rap. Some people look on it like me, like it's a very nostalgic thing for me. I love this game, I love the music, I love everything about it. But some people, it does have kind of a weaker story. There's a big long story about why it has a weak story. And some people don't like maybe the hit direction with enemies and stuff. But that is Secret of Mana. And this is one of my favorite games of that era. I just really fell in love with this game. I would just spend countless hours leveling up those weapons and leveling up my magic, and then I got to the Mana Beast and I didn't know what the hell to do. Finally beat it, years later. But there's a trick to beating the Mana Beast, and I finally figured it out, but it took me a long time. But definitely one of those great games that you should definitely check out. Of course, the Mana series. I don't know what happened to it. It started off very strong. Evermore, which I've never played, Secret of Evermore. I plan on getting to it soon. I know Bull and Nick really likes it, and I really trust his opinion on things. And then after that, after Evermore, it's just like the newer games came out, which I have them, I just haven't got around to playing them. And they're just not as good. So I guess we'll see. I don't know. But, you know, this is classic action RPG magic right here. And definitely a game you should check out. I know it's on iOS now. I think you can download it on the... Yeah, you can download it on the Virtual Console. But there's been no, like, portable version, which would be really nice. A really nice portable version of that would be great. And then finally, of course, we have Chrono Trigger. You can't talk about the Super Nintendo or the Super Famicom, as this is, without talking about Chrono Trigger. And I have this because I wanted to have a cartridge of it, but I didn't really feel like paying the exorbitant price because I have it on the PS1, I have it on the DS. You know, do I really need to pay 50 bucks for a cartridge, Super Nintendo cartridge? Nah, I'll just pay $5 for the Super Famicom cartridge. You know, that's the thing with JRPGs in Japan. They're just super cheap. But this was called the Dream Project, you know, and in so many ways, that is true. You know, this game, in a lot of ways, has never been topped. It's definitely one of the best RPGs out there. And if you've never played Chrono Trigger, stop watching this video now. Download it. Get it however you can and play it because it is fantastic. One of the more simple time travel stories out there, but just an amazing game with amazing music and amazing graphics for its time. You should definitely check it out. So I don't know where I'm at time-wise, and I got a lot of stuff here. I might skip some things, but like Ball and Nick, I pulled out a lot of games that I really like. This video is probably going to be ridiculously long, so pop popcorn, you know. But there was always a game in the back of my head that I heard about on import watches and magazines and things like that, and I always wanted to play it, and I never got to play it until I got my Wii and got the Virtual Console and saw that it was on there, and that is Ys Book 1 and 2 for the TurboGrafx. And if you have a Wii and a Virtual Console, just download this. It's a little bit more expensive than your normal TurboGrafx game, but it's phenomenal. The music is outstanding. And you really owe it to yourself to dive into the Ys series. It's one of the best series out there, and for the longest time, we missed out on it. And I'm so glad that we had this deluge of Ys games, because it's just fantastic. And of course, back in the day, like everyone, I called it Ys, because it's YS, but it's actually pronounced Ys. And Ys is actually a real myth in our world, so definitely go on to Wikipedia and read about the real Ys, because it's kind of one of those Atlantis, Lost World type of stories, and it's really kind of cool to read about that stuff. But this is more of an action RPG. Definitely got a weird control scheme where you use the control pad to basically run into enemies to attack. You don't hit a button to attack. But just a fantastic, phenomenal game from that era. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I think everyone kind of knows about Ys now. But if you haven't checked it out, definitely go get it. I'm trying to speed through this because I think this video is going to go really friggin' long. But a lot of games here. Really big show. Really big. N64. Not a system you would think for JRPGs. But this was actually the system that introduced me to the Ogre series, Tactics Ogre, Ogre Battle, and that was Ogre Battle 64. And when this came out, I knew I had to have this game because I love JRPGs. And I almost said the Wii. N64 was not getting anything. Of course, we got Quest 64, which was not so great, and then we had Paper Mario, which unfortunately at the time I never got around to getting. But I definitely made sure I got Ogre Battle 64, and this might be my favorite N64 game. I love this game to death. I think it is fantastic. It's a strategy RPG, but not like tactic. And it's not a tactical RPG, and it's not really a real-time strategy. It's kind of somewhere in between where you kind of fight for castles and territories and things like that. And it's really a phenomenal game. And if you guys haven't played this game, definitely go out and find a cartridge of it. You should get it for around $30. But definitely one, if you have an N64 and you love RPGs, this is one you definitely need to add to your collection. As I said, I'm speeding up here because I know this is going to be a long video. And then, of course, the PlayStation 1. And how can you talk about JRPGs without talking about the PlayStation 1? And, you know, looking at my collection, I could show you the Final Fantasies. There's Dragon Warrior 7. You know, there's so many RPGs on that system. Wild Arms, Suikoden. The ones I really want to point out to you are ones that I didn't get to play until only a few years ago. Maybe like 3 years ago, like 2009. And this series has just driven its way deep into my heart with its imaginative storytelling, its lovable characters, and I mean, this is one of the few RPGs that by the end of it, I didn't want it to end because I wanted to spend more time with these characters, and those games are the Lunar games. And if you guys have not played the Lunar games, you owe it to yourself to do it because it is classic RPG in its finest. The stories start off so charming and wonderful, and by the end of it, of course, you have the earth-shattering decisions to make, and, you know, just phenomenal stuff. You can get, you know, Silver Star Story. You can get it on PSP as Silver Star Harmony. Eternal Blue, unfortunately, if you want to play Eternal Blue, really the only way to play Eternal Blue is to go back and get the PS1 version or get the Sega CD version. So they haven't really released a remake of this yet. Hopefully they will, but there are so many versions of Silver Star Story. You got it on the Game Boy Advance, you got it on the Saturn in Japanese, you got it on the Sega CD, you got it on the NES, you got it on the PSP. I mean, I think these might be on, I don't know if they're on PSN or not, I really couldn't tell you, but I'm telling you guys, Lunar. Honestly, part of me really wants a Lunar 3, but part of me knows that it'll never live up to these two games. These are just perfect 10s, you know what I mean? Just perfect 10s. Fantastic stuff. And then, of course, the final game for the PS1 that I want to point out to you is Xenogears. And this is one of those almost religious experiences, both with the content of the game and just with how much I loved this game when I played it. And I really wish that they got to do their original plan, which this is part 5 in a 7-part story. Is that correct? I know this is episode 5 in it, but they had this whole plan for releasing all these different games in the Xenogears saga, which unfortunately, you know, Squaresoft started saying no to it, and then basically everyone left, and they formed Monolith Soft and made the Xenosaga series. So this kind of morphed into the Xenosaga series, and you can see some connections between the two. But I really wish they got to finish Xenogears, because this has one of my favorite characters of all time, which is Id. And I think the reason why I really like Id is because he's got red hair and he's just a complete badass. But every time Id was on the screen, I was just mesmerized by him. And just definitely one of the most interesting RPGs out there. One of the most heady RPGs out there, though. There's a translated PDF of the complete works for Xenogears, and I would almost say that's required reading to really understand what's going on in this game, because it throws you well into the deep end and expects you to tread water. And if you don't, I mean, a lot of times I felt lost in this game, but it's one that makes you want to discover its secrets and want to discover what they're trying to get across in the game. And it's definitely one of the best PS1 RPGs out there. So definitely check out Xenogears. Oh, where do we go next? Let's go to Dreamcast. And, oh shit. Well, okay, I forgot to pick this up. It would have been the GameCube version anyway, but Skies of Arcadia. Fantastic Dreamcast RPG. Dreamcast is not really known for RPGs, but it's a fantastic old-school RPG. Definitely check out Skies of Arcadia. But the one I really want to point out to you is Grandia 2. And I loved Grandia 1. I loved its, it was on the PS1 and the Saturn. I loved its innocent story. I love the characters of Justin, you know, Fina, and Sue. I didn't love the voice acting, but there was a certain charm to it as well. But I think Grandia 2 really took everything that Grandia 1 was and just made it that much better. I think this is one of the most epic RPGs out there. I could not put this down. I love this game so much. Definitely check out Grandia 2 for the Dreamcast. It's also on the PS2, so there's no reason you should miss out on this game. It's one of the best ones out there. I haven't got around to playing Grandia 3 yet, but we'll get to it here eventually. So, let's keep this gravy train moving here, and let's move into the next generation. I'm trying to keep this speedy for you guys. I'm really trying to stop making these long videos. And possibly my favorite PS2 RPG. And it's really kind of funny, the two PS2 RPGs I picked, because they're both by the same development company. And probably my favorite PS2 RPG out of all of them, Dragon Quest VIII. And I already talked to you about how much I love the Dragon Warrior series. This took everything that the classic Nintendo games were and just brought it to the modern era. I mean, Dragon Quest has always been known for its sort of subpar graphics. Dragon Quest VI looked really good for the Super Nintendo, but Dragon Quest V just looked like a Nintendo game with some more colors in it. You know, Dragon Quest VII, by the time it came out on the PS1, it looked like crap. I mean, I love the game, but it looks like crap. You know, so what they really did with Dragon Quest VIII was just a knockout, because it took everything great that Dragon Quest was and just souped it up for the modern era. And, you know, Final Fantasy could really learn a lot from this game, because, you know, every time they make a new Final Fantasy, they feel like they have to reinvent the wheel. And Dragon Quest has been keeping the same sort of gameplay, you know, on and on and on over the years. And when you talk to people who play Dragon Quest games, they love each and every one of them, because it's just like meeting up with a familiar or an old friend. You know, things have changed, but they're still the same person that you knew. Whereas Final Fantasy has gone almost completely off the rails and is almost a completely different thing than what it started out as. And, you know, when I put this in and started playing it, I felt right at home. I knew exactly what to do. I had a little problem navigating the Americanized menus, because the Japanese version of the game keeps the black text boxes like the old games, which I would have much more preferred. But, you know, you got used to it. But just a phenomenal update to the Dragon Quest series, and I really hope, you know, Dragon Quest X is going to be a MMO. I really hope that Dragon Quest XI goes back to this, because wouldn't a high-def, cel-shaded Dragon Quest on these modern systems, Wii U, whatever you want it to be on, wouldn't that be fantastic? I mean, I'm going to get Dragon Quest X, and I'm really going to give it a shot. If it's, I might not, I don't know if it's subscription-based, I don't know, but I'm really going to give it a shot, but for my money, the modern Dragon Quest, it doesn't get any better than this. And then the other game that I'm going to point out to you on the PS2 is Rogue Galaxy. And this is a huge game. Huge. I couldn't believe how much time it took me to finish this game. I definitely pushed 90 hours on it, I believe, if I remember correctly. But just massive game, and so amazing as well. More of an action RPG. Think more like Star Ocean and the Tales of series in the sort of actionness. You still go into like a battle screen and things like that, kind of, but more along the lines of those games where your teammates are AIs and, you know, stuff like that. But just so much fun, such an epic storyline, and really one of the best games on the PS2 and in general. So definitely check it out. Phenomenal graphics. Level 5. Who did both of these games, is a company to watch for. And they're bringing out Ni no Kuni more towards the fall-winter time on the PS3. So definitely check out that JRPG, because it just looks phenomenal. Level 5, Studio Ghibli, how can you go wrong? But definitely check out Rogue Galaxy. Really a wonderful game. And then for the GameCube was also a system that really didn't get a lot of RPGs. There's Batten Kaitos, of course. There's Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. What else is over there? Skies of Arcadia. Definitely check that one out. But Tales of Symphonia. fantastic. A lot of people hold that as their favorite Tales of game. It's not my favorite Tales of game, but it was really awesome as well. But the one I really want to sell you guys on, because there might be a 3DS sequel coming out, is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. This was my first experience with the Fire Emblem series. I always knew about it as a kid, but we never got them for a long period of time, and then I finally picked this up, and this thing, it blows my mind that this is from Nintendo, because it's such a dark rumination on war. It really makes you think about how kind of stupid war really is, and just a phenomenally dark storyline, phenomenal gameplay. If you guys like Advance Wars or more strategy RPG-ish type stuff, this is fantastic. But this didn't fall into the trap that I have with most strategy RPGs, where I kind of get bored with them. Like this, I always had to continue because it was such top-notch gameplay and such top-notch storytelling that I just had to see it through. And I have the sequel for the Wii over there sitting on the shelf, and it's there's so many games out, and I want to play so many of them. It's just sitting there on the shelf, taunting me. But hopefully they bring out the 3DS, the new 3DS one, and we get that over here. Nintendo, don't be stupid. Bring the stuff out. People that follow Nintendo want these kind of JRPG games. I buy Nintendo systems for the Japanese games because you're a Japanese company. If I want Western games, Xbox. But you guys bring out fantastic Japanese games. Keep doing it. Editorial there. Where are we going to go to next? We'll go with this one next. The DS. DS has a lot of fantastic RPGs. Definitely Chrono Trigger, for you guys who want to get it on the cheap. The Dragon Quest series has a lot of games on there. But the one I really want to point out to you, it might be one hard to find. I don't know if the reprint has actually happened, but that is Radiant Historia. This is old school Super Nintendo goodness with a fresh coat of paint. This is one of the most phenomenal games of this generation. And if you guys love JRPGs, you definitely need to check this out. It has one of the best storylines I've witnessed this generation. It has one of the best battle systems, one of the most interesting battle systems out there. It really makes you kind of think tactically of how you want to approach the battles. And one of the most can't talk anymore. One of the most interesting sort of time travel aspects in the game, video games. So definitely check out Radiant Historia. Gorgeous. Gorgeous visuals, gorgeous music, gorgeous all-around game. How can you go wrong when it's from Atlas? You know what I mean? And then we'll go ahead and go with the PSP, and I'm going to go through these quickly because I've already talked about these ad nauseum. The Ys series, you guys definitely want to check out Ys Oath and Felghana. Phenomenal update to Ys 3. Ys 3 was kind of the black sheep of the series, and they went back and they made it make it feel more like an Ys game. You definitely want to get these chunky box sets. Buy them directly from Xseed, so they get all the money, because Xseed is like the modern day Working Designs, who brought out like Lunar and things like that. And we really need to support these guys because they're bringing out another fantastic game that I'm going to talk about at the end here. But definitely one of the best Ys games out there, one of the most challenging Ys games out there. It's short, so when you guys get it, you can, I think Mr. RPG Crazy beat it in one day. If I remember correctly, he beat it in one day. It's like 8 hours. He just played 8 hours straight. So that's a mark of a good game, when you can sit and play it 8 hours straight. And then also, this is a game I really want you guys to look at, and I really want you guys to go out and buy, because Xseed is having a really slow time of making the sequel, and I really want it to come out. So do me a favor, go out, buy this game so they get money, they see interest in it. That game is Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, and this is one of the best RPGs this generation, bar none. This was in my top 5 games of 2011, and you guys really need to experience this game because it's one of the best RPGs, period. I love the story, I love the characters. It's really reminiscent of Grandia 1 in that the characters are kind of innocent and maybe a little naive, and they get thrown into these big events, and as it progresses it gets darker and darker. to the point where it ends on that cliffhanger ending, and it just leaves you salivating for more. So definitely check out Trails in the Sky. Show Xseed that we want the sequels out here. Even if it's just in a download format only, I want that game. So we need to show them that this is a game that they really need to invest in. Trails in the Sky, Legend of Heroes. And then finally, we're going to just look at the Xbox 360. And I'm going to call this one closed because I got to be pushing a half hour by now. Nier. This is one of the more recent games I've played, and it's really stuck with me. The music is haunting, beautiful. The storyline is wonderfully dark and macabre. And by the time you get to the end of it, it really kind of makes you think about what the nature of life really is, and what really is important, and what would you fight and die for, you know what I mean? So definitely check out Nier. It mixes a lot of different play styles into the JRPG format. It's more of an action RPG. The boss fights feel more like a bullet hell shooter. There's a sequence in a haunted mansion that feels like it was ripped straight out of Resident Evil. What else? Oh, there's a like text-based portion to the game where it feels like an old text-based RPG. Really great stuff, and you know, it was one of the underdogs of the generation. I really think it's something that people need to go back and look at. So definitely check out Nier. And then the final game, not the final game I'm going to talk about, but the final game I have a physical copy of to show you guys, that is Tales of Vesperia, which is still currently my favorite Tales of game. Just a phenomenal game, phenomenal cel-shaded high-res graphics, phenomenal storyline, characters that you're going to love, a storyline that's just, it starts off, you know, kind of mysterious, but as it goes on, you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. Fantastic battle system. I love the real-time action battle system of the Tales of series, so definitely check this one out. I'm getting tired of talking. The last two games I want to talk about are Wii exclusives. One of them is coming out Friday. That is Xenoblade, from the creators of Xenogears and Xenosaga. It's going to be a fantastic game. You should definitely go to GameStop and pre-order that and purchase it. Go to Nintendo's website if you don't want to deal with GameStop. Get it from them, because we need to show Nintendo that these are the games we want. We really need to bring JRPGs back to sort of prominence. And then the final game I'm going to talk about comes out in June 19th, if I remember correctly. That is The Last Story, also for the Wii. Definitely go check out those games, and definitely go pre-order those games. Last Story is coming out from Xseed. They're bringing it out in conjunction with Nintendo. So they don't have it up on their site yet, but if you don't want to purchase it from GameStop, see if you can get it from Nintendo, see if you can get it from Xseed. Definitely support those companies. I'm tired now, guys. My throat's a little sore too. So, like I said, this is a response to Ball and Nick 1982 and also R.E. Lewis 2011. R.E. Lewis, I'm definitely going to be checking out your channel, and you'll probably see me as a subscriber here soon. But yeah, I gotta stop this video, guys, because this has gone on way too long. Definitely check out these two guys' channels. Definitely keep the RPG love going. I would love to hear what you guys, your favorite JRPGs are, and what got you into the series, or the genre. I know a lot of people jumped on board with Final Fantasy VII, so I expect a lot of that, but some people, you know, probably gone more old school, so. Okay, video is over. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please check out some old videos. See if there's anything here for you, and if there is, please subscribe. I would love to talk to you guys about games. Check out these other two guys' channel. Once again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.